How y'all doing tonight?
Hey, Selena.
Hey. Good deal. I know. I've been kind of excited to talk to you ladies on the show, and I know y'all have been a little bit excited to get on here. So.
Oh yeah. Absolutely.
Well, cool. The victims of horror, and I have to say that Sarah and I kind of laughed about it when she was on, because you got to be real careful when you say that people are like, what? And I'm like, no, dude, I'm not the Sopranos. It's not horror. It's horror, like is in scary stuff. And so you have to always kind of say that, because my Texas accent, man, it could sound in all kinds of ways. But
it does sound. It does. You got to be sure to put an extra R in there and really enunciate.
Exactly, because I can't have that lazy Southern drawl. So, but yeah, and hella paranormal too. So that was so cool that Sarah said that you guys were into the paranormal. So Danielle, can you tell us what exactly got you into paranormal? First off, let's go with that first.
Well, it's something I've sort of been drawn to as a kid. I've been sensitive and just had experiences throughout my lifetime. And then about 4 years ago, I had a client sit in my chair. I'm a hairstylist, and she said she was wanting to start an all-girls group, and so I joined that. And Z was also a client of mine, and I got to talking with her, brought her in, and then that group didn't really go the direction we were really wanting to go, so we just formed our own.
There you go. And what about you, Z? What got you into the paranormal?
Well, when I was little, I had all kinds of weird things happen at my grandma's house where I lived. I feel like something watching me, hear noises, like somebody's walking around, and my grandma's like, "Oh, you watch too many scary movies." I was like, "No, there has to be something. I can't be just crazy or making it up. I know I hear this. I know I feel this." And as I got a little bit older, I discovered that paranormal investigating was a real thing. Thank you, Ghostbusters. And
yes.
I had always been interested in doing it, but I'd never really known anybody else who wanted to do these things. So then one day I went to get my hair done, and Danielle was there, and she just did I think it was my maybe second or third visit to actually see her. We didn't know each other that well yet. But she asked me, she's like, "I have a weird question for you." Go on. She's like, "Do you happen to believe in ghosts?" And so then we went from there, and I joined the team that she had been speaking of, the first one. And then we just kind of started our own later on. And that's how we had our
that's kind of funny.
That was our separate moment. Did we just become best friends?
Yep. How funny. The things that women talk about when they get their hair did. That's all I know.
Oh, girl, the thing.
And the nail thing. Oh, I'm sure. One of my really good friends owns a salon in Midlothian, Waxahachie area down here in Texas, and it's pretty sweet. And he told me that there's a couple of things that she thinks goes on in her salon, because it's an older Train Depot building. So I'm like, well, duh. You're like by a train. I mean, that's one thing that helps out with energy and bringing them in. I mean, come on. So yeah, and the things that she hears, she tells me all these stories. I'm like, girl, that is just too much drama for my ears in one day from all the women. Now you have a drink.
No, definitely.
So the hella paranormal thing, that totally sounds really cool. So FEAR, my team name, stands for everything a reason, or F everything and run, depending on whatever situation that somebody sees of it. But what is there a meaning or a definition or some kind of acronyms that hella stands for?
Okay.
Oh, yes.
So our team was a little silly. Yeah, it's a little silly. We're like, no, we want something that actually means something, not a string of words thrown together. So we sat down as a group and did a bunch of research, and we decided we wanted to use the name of a goddess. And we stumbled across a Norse goddess Her name was Hel, and in some variations, Hela, and she is the Norse goddess of death and the afterlife.
So we chose that because we are an all-female group, and we wanted something strong that represented, the female side of all this. So that's why we went with the goddess.
Y'all got really deep into it, man. I'm talking, that's some deep thought stuff right there.
And it also didn't help that, or it didn't hurt that she also looks really cool. She's Loki's daughter, and half of her is a beautiful woman, and the other half is skeleton.
She has antlers.
She does. Oh. So we were like, well, okay, that's just really rad.
Okay, the antler thing. Wow, all right. Well, Hela is really a cool name. I've heard of some really, lately there have been such names I can't even go into remembering because there's 6 and 7 acronyms for it, and I'm like, oh my gosh. Just make it short and simple. Jesus Louise. And, it's hard for me to remember everything mine stands for because, at first when I started my group, Penny and I, it was an all lesbian, all girl group, and the thing that was funny about it, and we kind of joked about it, and at first she thought I was serious to really name the team this, but it was Lips. And she goes, dude, seriously. And I go, no, but listen. I go, listen, Linda, listen. I go, Lips, lesbian investigators must be taken seriously, right? And I'm like, yeah. And she's like, well, Lips, got it. I'm like, all right, Penny, damn. So here it is. So,
yeah. Our thinking table consisted of several bottles of wine and a computer. So that's
ooh.
And,
that's where it got deep.
So. Yeah, that was a fun
It got real right up in there that night.
Yeah.
That's great. So you hooked up with the Vixens of Horror. Now tell us all how that came about. How about you? Start with you.
Well, I am friends with 2 of the other Vixens. I had known them long before the Vixens were a thing, and they were looking for more members, and Betty the Mermaid and Sophia Fatale, the other 2 Vixens that I've been friends with for a while, were like, oh my gosh, we should have to tell Sarah about Z, because I do the paranormal investigating, I'm a huge fan of horror and all this stuff. I'm like, oh, she'd be perfect. And at the time when I first met Sarah and was introduced to the Vixens, I wasn't able to be part of it, but recently things shifted and the universe said, let's see, you're going to get a call from Sarah and things going to work out. So next time she called me, she was like, I was really, really butthurt the first time I asked you couldn't do it, but I'm really hoping now that you can. And so I was like, yeah, you know what? Absolutely, let's do this. And so she had asked me if there was anybody else that I could think of to recommend. I was like, well, naturally, I'm going to recommend Danielle because, it's the only other person I could think of off the top of my head. I'm like, yeah, she'd be perfect. I talked to her about it, and I was like, you should call Sarah. And then she did, and here we are.
That's crazy. So you got characters. That's the thing. You have a persona as far as the Vixen thing goes. Now, I saw your Hella Paranormal page, and everybody needs to go and check that out on Facebook. And y'all were cracking me up. Y'all have just as much fun on your investigations, it looks like, as I do, because the spirit, I don't care what anybody says, they like laughter. They do not want you being all boring and, oh my God, they're asking the same shit everyone else has asked. Holy crap. Come on now. Y'all can get it. Don't have a box that you live in idiots. Come on.
You're not stupid.
Right. So it picks up it picks it up. I just think it does. It picks up activity, and I love to keep it light. Now, I'm serious as hell when I'm investigating and doing EVP sessions. I don't fart around.
Oh, exactly.
But to get that energy level up, I see you guys doing the same thing, or should I say you ladies doing the same thing. And it's so fun to look at y'all's pictures. I'm like, man, they were having a blast. How many, times do you get to have pics that dress up in sexy horror outfits that go paranormally investigating. I mean, I get to go investigate with a vampire sometimes. That's kind of fun.
Ooh, there you go, yeah.
Yeah, and she's beautiful, so hello. That doesn't hurt either. So when I came across, when ASAP had said, Kevin's like, oh, you gotta have these friends of mine on that, these chicks are cool and all this other stuff, and I'm like, well, who are they? And he told me, and I looked at those pages up too on Facebook, and I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I go, because every kind of chick that I've ever seen is about scary as hell anyway, and then they put makeup on her to look even, like, worse.
Well, and part of it sort of goes hand in hand. I'm a complete history nerd, and I do a lot of the research for Hella as well. It's something that I enjoy, and I incorporated a lot of historical accuracies in my character. Her name is Hazel Belloc, and she is a prostitute at the turn of the century in Storyville in New Orleans, which was the red light district. And I incorporated the Axeman, who was a serial killer in New Orleans from 1918 to 1919, and I made them lovers, and they killed together. And that's where that came from, and it fits. It sort of fits my personality. Not that I'm a hooker or anything, but it fits my personality.
Not that you're a hola or anything like that. You're a horror chick that dresses up. Okay.
Yeah, there's certain things, there's certain times in history that I am just drawn to, certain areas, certain things, and that has always been one of them. So and we were just in New Orleans this past May, so it just sort of all fell into place.
Yeah, NOLA is awesome. I've been like twice, and I can't wait to go back. The first time I went, it was a little challenging going with three little fluffy girls that had 15,000 things of clothing thrown everywhere in the hotel room. That was a little stressful for me because I don't travel like that. But that was fun. We had a blast. It rained a lot, but God, the things we saw, some things you just can't unsee.
Right. Oh, yeah.
And you always get one of those visuals in NOLA every time you go. So I can see the attraction to that city. There's so much mystery and so much, there's so many spirits. There's like more spirits there than there are actually living people, I do believe.
I would agree.
Because you can feel it. I mean, the minute you like walk into NOLA, you can feel it. And it's just, it's nuts with history there. And so the draw to that I can see. And there's another, Lee, what is your character actually? What is your persona? Or
my character her name is Goldie Goodnight. It is also, I just went with my burlesque name, which is a nod to Goldie Hawn, my favorite actress.
Yeah.
They say, good night, Goldie, good night, Goldie. So Goldie Goodnight was born a few years ago as my burlesque persona, and I stuck with the name. She was a nurse in an asylum in England in the very late 1800s, and she was making a deal with the devil for 1,000 lives, and she would go to the more, the lost patients that were there for just no reason. They were beyond help, and she would practice her dark magic on them and take their teeth as souvenirs. But she got a little too bold one day and was caught. And so they strung her up by her neck, and a few days later, the people who spoke out against her and killed her were found in their bed dead, missing their teeth and their tongues. And she is the basis for the Tooth Fairy.
Wow.
She is, so that's my idea, was that if the lore and the legend became children would put their teeth on pillows at night so she wouldn't kill them. And then if you don't believe in the Tooth Fairy or you say she's not real, she'll come after your teeth herself.
Ay. Dang, that's pretty... Wow, that kind of makes. I'm glad I don't have any teeth to put under my bed anymore.